how did we get here with this Knicks situation and Steve Mills deciding to come out and speak?
Well, it was a 2-8 start, and then it was obviously sped up by that blowout loss at home on Sunday night to Cleveland. And, remember, that was a team that had just gone to Dallas and beaten the Mavericks, who've been very good this season, and won on the road, but getting booed at home, and having, Steve Mills, Scott Perry in the building, and then, all of a sudden, David Fizdale's in the locker room, getting ready to leave his locker room with his team to go to his press conference, and all of a sudden, there's management up talking at a podium, which is, pretty unusual. The timing, the tone of it, pretty unusual for any team to have management kind of march right for the final buzzer to a press conference. But at 2-8, and a team that's at the bottom in a lot of statistical categories so far this year, they went in.
Listen, there's no doubt it's a bad team, and there's no doubt that management just hung Fizdale out to dry. So on that note, when it ends for Fizdale there, does New York have any chance of getting an actual established, well-known coach at that point, or are people going to look at that job and say, are you kidding me? Why would I go work for those people?
Well, I mean, remember when they hired David Fizdale before last season, he had a multitude of offers. He had Atlanta, Charlotte, Phoenix, all essentially offered their jobs to him, and the Knicks, and he wanted the Knicks job. And at the time, Kristaps Porzingis was on the roster and injured, and there was hope for free agency, and he was a sought after coach, and so they're not in a place right now where the coach having an established, quote unquote established. I don't know who that would be. I think, to me, probably the most talented, probably the best head coach in basketball who's not in coaching works with us, and that's Jeff Van Gundy. He's been out for over a decade now, and obviously, last coach in Houston, but also coached the Knicks. And I don't know that there's a coach alive right now that could. This is a talent problem right now. This is a roster issue, and to me, you could survive. That organization could survive not getting Durant and Kyrie Irving in free agency. I always thought you could survive that as an organization. What they haven't been able to recover from, and what they're not going to be able to recover from, was trading Kristaps Porzingis.
Talking to Adrian Wojnarowski, our ESPN senior NBA insider, on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Protect your engine this winter. Use Pennzoil synthetic motor oil made from natural gas, not crude oil. Woj, so in that regard, we don't believe David Fizdale will be much longer with this job, considering that statement. But when we look that next level up, and you mentioned this is not a great roster, the decisions made in the offseason, when do Steve Mills and Scott Perry's jobs get a look at this point, considering Steve Mills is now on, I think, his fifth head coach as the Knicks president of basketball operations?
That's a James Dolan question, and he has shown tremendous confidence in, especially Steve Mills, who's been on the job through several different regimes, president, all the way back to the Isaiah Thomas days. Phil Jackson comes and runs a team, and then, Steve Mills gets another runway here as president. And, their history has shown that Dolan has had favorites. Clearly, Steve Mills is one of his favorites. And, I'm told he has autonomy now to make a decision on David Fizdale's future. And, whether they will look at the front office down the line. In these jobs, if you don't win, you need to be a really smart front office guy said to me, years ago, you need to have one of two things. You need to be able to sell winning or sell hope. And you kind of look around the NBA, you can look at the places where you can sell either of them. And right now, if you're the Knicks, you certainly don't have winning, and I think selling hope is really difficult for where they are right now.
We're talking to Adrian Wojnarowski, ESPN senior NBA insider. Woj, before we let you go quick, I want to get your thoughts on Gordon Hayward. We just talked about him at SportsCenter. He undergoes surgery, but he was having a great year so far for the Celtics. What's this mean for Boston moving forward?
Well, they certainly banked a lot of wins with him out of the lineup, and they're talented enough, to ask, certainly Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown to do more. Kemba Walker's had a terrific season, but 6 weeks, is manageable. And Hayward has come back, and you could make the case he might have been playing better than he ever has, and needed that full year to come back from the injury. But getting him back by around Christmas, gives this team a chance to still recover from this month and a half out. And Boston's going to be formidable if they get out in the trade market and find a defensive-minded big who could rebound, protect the rim, give them that element. This could be a really dangerous team in the playoffs.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.